Hi everyone, welcome back to the Dev Tutor. In today's video, we are diving deeper into Vue.js 3 by exploring three new powerful features: one method, computed properties, and watches. So, whether you are building complex applications or just getting started, understanding these tools will take your Vue.js skills to the next level. We'll be using the composition API for all the examples. So, you are also getting hands-on with the Vue 3's latest features. Talk about methods. Methods in Vue.js are functions that you define to perform actions when it called, often in response to events like clicks or form submissions. They are defined inside setup function when using the composition API. So, as you can see here, we have already created one of our component called Tut3 inside our components directory. So now let's create our first method. So what we can do is take a simple function, and I am giving this function a name called something like greet users, right? And this function, what it will do, it will not return anything. It will simply alert users, hi, welcome to the dev tutor. Okay. Now, what we can do inside our template to call this function? We can simply, first of all, take an button element, right? And inside that, writing to greet. Okay, you can see there is already a button, but when we click this button, there is no action performing, right? But as soon as I give a method by touching attribute click, and inside that I pass the function name greet users, right? As soon as I do that, you can see whenever I am clicking this greet button, it shows us an alert, right? Hi, welcome to the dev tutor. As many times as we hit, it will show us the same response, right? Next, let's explore the computed properties. Computed properties are used to compute derived data, which is data that depends on other reactive data. The great thing about these computed properties is that they are cached based on their dependencies, meaning they are only re-evaluated when it's necessary to do. So let's understand this by taking a real life example. Okay. So now first let's take a variable called first name, and inside that using a ref method from views library. We have seen this yesterday. So I am taking Ritwik inside that and take another variable called last, and I'm giving ref with Biswas. Okay, so now let me import ref first of all, otherwise it will not work. Import ref from view. Okay, so now as soon as I do this, let me just take two input fields here. Input type text, and I give its fee model to something like first. And then what we can do, we can take another input element and give its fee model to last. Okay, so you can see there are two input fields, and the first value is already predefined as Ritwik and second is Biswas, right? So we have seen the two-way data binding yesterday. So this is two-way data binding. Now what we can do is, let's just take an H6, H4, and inside that, to display our full name, what we can do here is, like, we can obviously write first name, then after a space we can take last name, right? We can do this easily, and whenever we change this, this will change reactively. But the interesting thing is there is a method in Vue.js called computed. So now if we just import computed and then we take another variable called full name, and inside that what we can do is we can call this computed method, right? Inside that computed method we need to pass a callback function, and inside that callback function one thing we can add this curly braces and type return first name plus last name, or we can simply remove these curly braces because we are using one line of code. So we can write like this, and then here we can simply put our full name variable, right? So you can see there is coming object, right? Why is that? Because we need to add dot value property to this first name and last name, because whenever we store a ref variable it is stored as an object, right? So whenever you are accessing its value, then you must put first name dot value inside the computed properties. So now if we just save this, you can see there is Ritwik undefined. Why is that? Oh, okay. So instead of writing value, we just written few. Okay. So now you can see there is Ritwik Biswas, and whenever I am changing this, it is getting automatically changed, right? So what computed property is doing is when it is watching this first name and last name variable. Whenever there is a change, it will reevaluate the properties and then output the data to this variable, right? So now we can do one more thing to make this look good. We can write like this. We can add a space over here, and then you can see there is a space between our first name and our last name. So this is all about computed properties. Finally, let's discuss watchers. Watchers are powerful tools that lets you perform actions in response to changes in specific data. While computed properties are great for most scenarios, watchers are your go-to for more complex cases where you need to perform asynchronous operation or monitor deeply nested data. Okay, so let's see how watchers works in real life. Right. So to use watchers, first of all we need to import this watch method from Vue. Right. Then suppose let's take a variable called age, right, and pass value to 25. Now let's take another input tag over here and pass its vmodel to the age. Now what we want from our, sorry, not 25, we have to write age. Sorry for my mistake. So now what we want here is we want to watch this age variable, and whenever the value changes we want to show an alert of the new age, right? So let's do that. So we need to write watch, and this watch method accepts two arguments. First one is the variable we want to watch, and second argument it accepts is a callback function, right? Whatever we want to do after watching the variable, right? So first give its first argument as age, then we can do a callback function, write a callback function, and inside the callback function, watch provides two data, right? Two parameters in that callback functions. So the first one is new value and the second one is old value. So what is this new value and old value? So whenever the age changes, watch will automatically inject the new value of age to this new value parameter and the old value of the age to this parameter. So this will become handy for you. Now let's give it a alert. we can do, we can alert the users, and by a string manipulation we can write age changed from old value, then we can write to new value. Right, by simply doing this, you can see if we just hit like this, you can see there is an alert. The age changed from 25 to 2, and then you can see it's changed. If I just hit like 0, you can see the age changed from 2 to 20. So that's all about our convergers, right? Now let's put all of these concepts together in a practical example. Suppose we are building a simple expense tracker, but we need to calculate the total expenses, react to the changes in the individual expenses, and display a message when the total expense exceeds a certain amount. Right? So let's see how we can do this. First of all, let's clean up all these things from here. Don't worry, I'll provide all these links to the YouTube description. For now, let's just comment out all of these things to see a perfect clean thing over here. We have just kept this import statement because we need this in our example. So let's break down the steps one by one. So step 1 is we need to pass different expense records in an array. Then we need to calculate the total expenses. Then we need to add a button to add new expense. Last, we need to check if the new total expense is greater than, suppose let's take $1,000. Right, and if it exceeds, then alert the user. Okay. So now let's do one by one. Okay, so step 1, what we need to do? We need to pass different expense records in an array. So first of all, let's take a variable called expenses, and inside that we need to take an array with, suppose we are passing 0 as of now. Then what we need to do in step 2, we need to calculate the total expenses, right? So to calculate the total expenses, we can use a computed property. You guessed it right. Total expense. Calculate total expense. What we can do, we can use like JavaScript native reduce method, right? So what we can do is we can take a computed property, and inside the callback we can pass simply turn expenses dot value dot reduce, then we can take cc and expense, then not here, inside another callback to pass this, and then we can do here is like you can say ACC plus expense. You can write like we are adding from starting. So now our total expense is ready. So now we need to add a button, add new expense, right? So inside the template, let's first of all take H2, and then we can add like total expense is, then we can write total expense, and then we can add expenses. To stylize this, simply add this, and then what we can do, we can take a button element. Inside the button element, we can say add new expense, right? So you can see there is a button. So I want whenever this button is clicked, it should add a $50 of expense to this array, right? To this array. So what we can do, let's create a simple method to do this. Let's take a function called add new expense. Then inside the add new expense function, not let, sorry, my bad, we can write over here to expenses dot value dot push 50, right? So now whenever I hit this, it will not work because we have not incorporated our method with this button. So now if I just click and then add new expense, after we save, if we hit this, you can see this is increasing, right? So our computed property is properly working, our method is properly working, and our expenses array is also properly working. So now in step 4, what we need to do? We need to check if the new total expense is greater than $1,000, and if it exceeds, then alert the users, right? Watch total expense. Then we need to pass a callback function, get new value, hold. Okay, then just take a simple curly braces, write the curly braces, simply write if new value is greater than 1000, then what you can do is alert total expense is greater than 1000 dollars, and currently is new value, right? So it is giving, okay, so it is giving error because we need to pass this arrow function over here. Okay, now let's see all of this in action, right? First of all, let's bring this comment above the function and then save it. Then just hit this 50,000 over here. 60, 7, 8, 9, 15 and 1000. Now what is it's working properly. What it is doing is it's telling us that total expense is greater than $1,000 and currently is 1050. Okay, if we hit again, total expense is greater than 1000 and currently at 1100, right? So our example worked perfectly. So I hope you understand all three concepts of Vue.js pretty perfectly. So first one, we have seen how to use methods, then we have seen how to use computed properties, and lastly we have seen how to use vouchers to perform some complex logics on data changes. And that's it for today's video. We have covered how to use methods, computed properties, and functions in Vue.js 3 using the composition area. These tools are essential for creating dynamic and reactive applications. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Dev Tutor for more Vue.js tutorials. If you have any questions or need further clarifications, drop a comment below and I'll be happy to help you. Also, visit the devtutor.com for a full written tutorial and more resources. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.